I remember one person was like, oh, you can have an apple, right? Like, for what kid wants an apple on Halloween? I'm sorry. It's like, no, absolutely not. Like, that's just ridiculous. That is preposterous. We're starting off. We've got Halloween Day, which is awesome. Definitely a favorite for many people. Of course, trick-or-treating, dressing up in different costumes, different characters, etc. It's always a good time. And I feel like before I say always a good time, it was not always a good time for me as a kid growing up with diabetes. And so I want to talk just a little bit about some things surrounding Halloween, some thoughts, some misnomers, and welcome to the Your Diabetes Insider podcast, where we take all of the mysteries of blood sugar control, focusing on nutrition, exercise, and any of the other 40 plus factors that may impact your blood sugar. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Zeal. I'm a registered dietitian, certified diabetes educator, strength and conditioning coach, and I've lived myself with type 1 diabetes for over 20 years. And I am here to share everything that I have learned in both my personal and professional experience so you can live that incredible diabetes life. So get ready and let's dive right into today's episode. What is going on? Welcome to this episode of the Your Diabetes Insider podcast. And this week we've got a holiday that is super fun, especially if you're a kid, but also if you're an adult, still can be super fun. And I feel like there's a lot of diabetes implications around it. And that would be the start of National Diabetes Awareness Month. No, I'm totally kidding. That's also this week, but we're starting off with the day before. We've got Halloween on Thursday, which is awesome. Definitely a favorite for many people. Of course, trick-or-treating, dressing up in different costumes, different characters, etc. It's always a good time. And I feel like before I say always a good time, it was not always a good time for me as a kid growing up with diabetes. And so I want to talk just a little bit about some things surrounding Halloween, some thoughts, some misnomers, and just give a little bit of insight into how to best successfully have a great Halloween with great blood sugars, because not having good blood sugars when you're running around and you've got candy, probably not going to be a very fun experience for you. So without further ado, a couple things that just may put things into context, right? So you think of Halloween, you think of, okay, you're going to go trick-or-treating. And again, if you're under the age of, I don't know, if you're high school or under, you may be going trick-or-treating, especially if you're a kid. Or if you're the parent of a kid, you're thinking about your kid going trick-or-treating. And I remember I was diagnosed at the age of 7, and I was diagnosed about 2 months before Halloween. So that first year, went trick-or-treating. I could not tell you what my costume was. I quite frankly do not remember. But what I can also tell you is it was not a great experience. Because think about it. You're walking up the doors, trick-or-treat, hey, take some candy. And I'm over here, I'm 2 months into diabetes. I'm figuring out how to dose myself. And I'm like, wow, this is all of my low snacks. Wow, this is all of the foods that I was always told are forbidden because I have diabetes and they're not okay to eat. And first of all, that's baloney, and we know that. But second, yeah, there's a lot of things that can spike your blood sugar quickly if you are not careful. And that first year, I remember we went trick-or-treating. We all got our candy. My fam, honestly, my parents were like, all right, kind of give it to the greater good. Everyone's going to give their candy to the pot. And then I don't remember if we ever saw it again, if it got eaten, if it got given away, whatever. We might have been told it was given away. All I can tell you is I didn't get like any of it. We walked around, it was fun, and that was it. I don't think we went trick-or-treating again until 5 years later. Like, it was a long time until we went again. And one of the major reasons was it's a bunch of candy. You can't have it anyway. You can't have it. And they wonder why kids with diabetes and people with diabetes have such a dysfunctional relationship with food. It's because you're not getting candy and you're not getting things. You're told that you constantly can't have it. And it's not that, again, that you can't have it. Sure, if you're portioning it out correctly and you occasionally, emphasis on occasionally, want to indulge in it, it's not the end of the world if you are smart. If you're just out here being like, I got a king-size Snickers bar and 3 Reese's cups, probably not going to be the best idea in just a random context on a random Wednesday afternoon, right? But on the flip side, there are times and places where you can successfully have it with your blood sugar staying in a relatively good range. That is something I think that has to be said out of the gate. Doesn't matter whether your kid's 5 years old, 3 years old, 18 years old, whatever it might be, or you're an adult and you're like, hey, I'm going to go trick-or-treating because it's fun, or I'm going with my nephews or my kids or whatever, you can still partake and you can still have some of the candy. You just have to be very smart about it. Very smart about it. But something that really bothered me also that happened that first year was at school, there's trick-or-treating and you go to the different classrooms. And I remember going to different places and people pointing out and singling me out and saying, wait, you're the kid with diabetes, right? And I'd be like, yeah, like I'm 8 years old. What am I supposed to say? Yes. And they say, okay, I got something for you that's different. And they would just give me something completely separate from everybody else. Everyone else is going in and there's Baby Ruth and Three Musketeers and Crunch Bars and the Butterfingers. I'm getting some sugar-free, God knows what. I think back then it was the 50/50. Shout out to those if you remember the 50/50 brand, but the 50/50, like no sugar added candy, or, those little, what are they? They look like lifesavers, but they may not be sugar-free. But they're, the butterscotch sugar-free candy, like just the stuff that's, first of all, does not taste good. Second of all, is full of sugar alcohol, which is not going to be a good move with your digestive system at all. I don't care what you say about that. It's not going to go well. In best case, you have a few farts. In worst case, you're living on the toilet. But I'm getting a bunch of that. I'm getting a bunch of just other things. Oh, I remember one person was like, oh, you can have an apple, right? Like, for what kid wants an apple on Halloween? I'm sorry. It's like, no, absolutely not. Like, that's just ridiculous. That is preposterous. And also, shout out to the apple being just as many grams of carbs as a couple of those fun-sized little candies. So just something that can, again, really stick in your craw. If you're a parent of a kid who has diabetes, or you're a kid listening to this, just participate. Even you don't have to eat all of it. You're not obligated to eat all of it. Like, it's not like, oh man, I just went out and I got 86 pieces of candy and I need to eat all of them in the next 3 days. Like, you can keep them for a while. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not like you're getting things that have to be in the refrigerator and only have a little short time window to eat. So that's another thing as well. Again, if you're a parent of a kid, hey, we've got the candy container. You can have a couple pieces if you've done bar. I'm not gonna tell you how to parent. I don't have kids, right? But you can have a couple pieces after you've just run around outside. Hey, you can throw a piece in with your lunch or whatever. Like, you don't have to have it all in one sitting. That's just asking for. I don't care if diabetes or not. This is not a good life decision. So that was one thing that really used to stick in my craw and did as a kid, because it was like I was 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old. We didn't go because, like, what was I going to do? I was going to go get singled out. Oh, here's something else because this is better because you have diabetes. Even though the reality is the sugar-free candy doesn't do anything different. It's still going to raise your blood sugar. Most of them are made with sugar alcohols, which are going to, like I said, disrupt your digestive system. And on top of that, they taste nasty. So if I'm going to have something that tastes nasty, that's going to raise my blood sugar anyway, why not just give me the actual candy? Let me appropriately administer my medication and then let me have it. And then at least I enjoy it. Again, maybe I'm portion sizing out a little bit better, but it doesn't matter. Don't give this. Oh God, I digress. Don't even mess with the sugar-free stuff. It does not end well most of the time. But that was something that really used to bug me. Then I went middle school. I think I went once, maybe like my freshman year of high school because my friends were going or whatever. And it was chill, right? You walk around, and something you have to think about when you're walking around is you're walking around, maybe you're in a neighborhood, maybe you're, I don't know, wherever you live. You're outdoors, you're moving. And so you have to consider, and of course, of all places, what better place than when you have a bag full of candy, but you have to consider what your blood sugar is going to do while you're walking around, right? Because it's just like any other form of activity. You're going for a walk. You might be out for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's an hour plus of consistent activity. You are likely going to drop. So you may have to, if you are on insulin for other meds, adjust your other meds with your care team. But if you're on insulin, you may have to adjust your basal rates. You may have to adjust your bolus at the previous meal to make sure that you are not going to crash. Because the last thing you want is, okay, let's eat a quick dinner right before, and then you go out and trick or treat and you have 5 active units of insulin and you're walking, and now that 5 is now behaving like 8 and you're going to crash. Like, there's no nice way to say it. So yes, you've got a ton of candy, so your low blood sugar can get treated, but it's not a good situation. It's not setting yourself up for success. And remember, here on this channel, we're always all about, hey, how can I do better? How can I make it so I am successful, I'm prepared, I'm staying a step ahead of the game, and I don't have to stress about what my blood sugar is going to do? So that would be a really key component right there is, hey, you're ready to go. Let's think an hour in advance. What am I going to do to make sure that my blood sugar does not drop? Or at least not drop so substantially that I have to stop and treat the low and wait and hold everybody up and drive people crazy, and instead just prevent all that and enjoy it while also not subsequently flying to the moon the other direction. That is definitely something to consider, something to think about. And something else, and this, I don't know whether to call this a pro tip or just something, it kind of clicked with me at some point. I want to say it was probably that last time I went when I was in freshman year of high school, when I realized I was looking at the candy, and I will say straight up, I am somebody, I love chocolate, I love peanut butter. Like, you tell me Reese's, I will tell you all day, that is the jam. That is my absolute favorite of all time. Anything Reese's, the fast break with the marshmallow, my God. But Reese's cups, little mini Reese's, etc. When I did figure out those, because I would gravitate towards those. And I was getting a little older, and I was like, I don't like the Laffy Taffies. I don't like the Smarties or the Sweet Tarts or the Nerds. But what I realized was all of those things, I'm like, they're there. You end up with some of them regardless. What's the utility? So for a little while, the first, I think when I was like 13 or so, I would like trade everything away and just get my Reese's. And I was like, all right, I'm cool with that. I got my Reese's, I'm happy. But then I realized, I was like, wait a second. If I only go, not only, but if I predominantly go for those things I don't like, the candy corn, which to this day I still use as a low snack because I don't like it, right? But the candy corn, the Skittles, all of those things that are mainly carbs, but don't contain the fat in them. And of course, there's trace amounts of protein in these candies, but the ones that are mainly just carbs, like you look at a container of Nerds, and the Nerds are, 20 grams of carbs, I'm just making this up, per serving with no fat, no protein. It's just straight sugar. I'm like, that's a good low snack. So then I started thinking about Halloween as, okay, this, sure, it's not ideal. It's Halloween, it's candy, whatever. But I can stock up on my low snacks if I am thinking ahead, and I can decide to nab a bunch of those little containers of the Nerds, which I don't mind them. I think they're like 8 or 9 grams a pop, which depending on where your blood sugar is, could be the perfect thing for you. Of course, there's still somewhere. You got to draw the line somewhere, right? Warheads, if you remember Warheads, shout out. But at the same time, like those, like bottle caps, like there's certain things I just don't like them. But if you like will not eat them. But if you tell me, hey, you've got a bunch of candy that is just straight carbs and no fat, no protein, that can work in as a low snack. And I'm not saying, oh, use Halloween as a vehicle to get a bunch of low snacks and just stock up for a while, but it does work. I'm not going to lie. So similarly to how you could say, okay, we're going to have the candy distributed over a long period of time, especially if you're a parent of a kid with diabetes. On the flip side, you could say, great, we've got all this candy. We're going to use this for low snacks over the next couple of months. And so that way you've got a stash with you in your house that you can go to whenever you need something. Now, again, you don't want it to be a situation where it's like, oh, well, I love Laffy Taffies. I'm going to have a ton of them and now I'm going to tank and it's going to, or not tank, I'm sorry, now I'm going to spike and it's going to just be absolutely, like, you don't want to set yourself up for a situation like that either. But if you're like, hey, I know, for example, one thing of Nerds and one Laffy Taffy is exactly what I need to fix my low blood sugar, it's not a bad option. It's really not. Or I know in my case, hey, I need 9 candy corns and I'll get my blood sugar back up into range. Like, it will work. It will do the job. So something else to consider, kind of like a pro tip, pro hacking of Halloween, where you can take that and say, all right, I've just got low snacks on deck. I still have a few things I like. Don't get me wrong. Enjoy them, portion them out, be smart about your dosing because all these things are going to spike you like crazy, as evidenced by the fact that many can function as low snacks. But on the flip side, you could just replenish your low stash, which is never a bad thing, if you ask me. Especially, I mean, as a kid, my God, all I got was Gatorade and juice. And I, to this day, do not like juice. And I really don't like Gatorade either, to be completely honest, or Powerade or any of that stuff. Because there was like the Gatorade All-Stars and they had the red flavor, the blue flavor, and the purple flavor. I was not a fan. No, I used to drink those like exclusively for I think 4 years. And I would just crush them in the summers especially. Because of course, it rehydrates you, which it doesn't. It's good marketing. But besides that, the lows were always treated with those. And I got so sick of that blue flavor I never want to see again. Random fun fact. But the bigger thing is you can replenish low snacks, adjust before you go out to trick or treat to make sure you do not tank. It is the same thing as if you're walking around a theme park. It's the same thing as if you're walking around the grocery store. Same process. It's just a different context. And then obviously with it, I won't say don't deprive yourself, but be smart about how you participate. Don't eat 12 pieces of candy and expect your blood sugar to be perfect. But on the flip side, don't settle for the sugar-free nonsense. Because hey, I've got something different for you. Like, that does not have to be you. You can advocate and say, hey, I understand I have diabetes. That is okay. If people try to pull that on you, again, hopefully you don't have that experience, but I definitely had it. And I'm not going to say it traumatized me, but it was certainly not fun. And then one more hack, which is absolutely amazing. And it's something that I don't want to forget. And I want to make sure I share this with you too. So in honor of National Diabetes Awareness Month, which begins the next day, November 1st, all of the drugstores, the grocery stores, anywhere you can buy the candy is now listing it 50% off or more the majority of the time because they want to start getting their holiday shipments in and displayed. And I'm totally kidding. It has nothing to do with Diabetes Awareness Month, but it's because they want to get rid of that stuff. And it's the perfect opportunity for you to stash a ton of low snacks. So especially if you're not trick-or-treating, if you're like, hey, I'm too old for that, or I don't have kids or whatever, great opportunity to nab a bunch of those straight carbs, no fat, no protein snacks to treat lows at a discounted rate. And I'm not saying get a whole year's worth, but you absolutely could and justify it and it wouldn't be a problem. So something else to consider for you for post-Halloween to celebrate. And again, just another opportunity to take advantage of. And if it's there, why not partake, right? So that's what I've got for you. Have an amazing, safe Halloween. Enjoy yourself. Definitely let me know what costumes you're going to be wearing. I don't know. If I do anything, it'll probably be super typical Ben and just a Viking or something like that. I kind of want to get one of those like legit Viking things though. I think it'd be hilarious to wear that to a game. But again, digressing, separate conversation. Let me know how blood sugars go. Let me know about your experience. Feel free if you're posting on social, tag me at manofzeal, MANOFTZEL. And if you enjoyed the podcast, you're getting a lot from it, please leave us a 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify, wherever you are listening. If you're looking for support with your blood sugars or your kids' blood sugars, and you want them in amazing range with eating amazing food, being as active as you want, doing the things you love with the people that you love, my team and I are all registered dietitians. We all live with diabetes ourselves. We all have exercise backgrounds, and we might even take your insurance. So holler at me, shoot me a message, let me know how I can best support you, and I will see you in the next episode.
Hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey.